Hi, I'm Tammy Beilstein. Welcome to Tammy's Window on Calaveras. I have with me tonight two amazing people who do some pretty important work around here. The first is Sarah Lunsford. Some of you may have seen us together, especially if you're on Facebook. She's like my sister from another mister. And we do a page called Let's Talk About Death. She works here at the station. She's one of my favorite people on the planet. This is Sarah. And next to her is Terry Beaudoin. And they are here to talk about the Calaveras Community Foundation. They, well, I'll let them tell you what all they have going on. They've done some wonderful things in the past. They're involved in some really neat things right now, and more than I even knew that they did. I already was impressed with all the things that you guys do for others, but you will be too. So you guys, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so glad. I was telling them a little bit before we started that, as all of you know, I work for Hospice of Amador in Calaveras, and we have received one of these Calaveras Community Foundation grants before for a respite program for our hospice, and it was $5,000, I believe, that you guys gave us.
It was.
What a help it is for agencies like ours. I don't even know if we could exist without the people like you guys who help us along the way and help the families that we help.
And that's the reason
help
why,
us help the families. Yeah.
And that's the reason why the foundation was founded. We're looking, next year, we're looking at our 20th year anniversary, which is like amazing.
I can't believe you guys have been around for 20 years.
20 years, yes.
I'd never heard of you guys until just a few years ago. I didn't even know that there was such a thing.
And what happened 20 years ago is the two founders, there were two women who were in the West Point area who they saw a need for a community foundation. And I'm going to read from my notes, and because I want to get their names correctly.
Right.
But their names were Jenna Hurst and Beth Childs.
Okay.
And in 1999, they looked around and they said, you know, there's needs in the community. How can we help to meet those needs? And they looked and they said, well, you know, maybe a foundation would be a good thing. And boy, those women set their little minds to it, and they put the seed money in, and they gathered up like-minded people, and within 6 months they had their first all-volunteer board, and our board is still an all-volunteer board.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And here we are in our 20th year.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So because this is our 20th year, and because of the generosity of our donors, we're able to provide more grants and more funding this year.
Yes.
In
That's
fact,
amazing.
that $5,000 threshold that Amador and Calaveras Hospice received, that's kind of been pretty average of our grants. Because of the generosity of our donors, we're going to be able to up those size of those grants this year. Yeah.
But how many grants can you give?
Last year we gave away $118,000 in grants.
Whoa.
And there are 21 specific grants. And we have our three initiatives are, as I told you earlier, youth and a lot of scholarships. It's seniors aging in place. Okay, we're donating money to have guardrails and ramps and things built so folks can age in place. And then the last one is community enrichment, where we do things like, oh gosh, we donated some money for microphones for one of the art studios. And the very first one was we did some exterior work on the Calaveras Senior Center.
Really?
We do a lot of work for the seniors. Yep.
Oh my goodness. So do you give them the cash to have the work done, or do you guys don't actually go out and do any the physical work? You give the money so they can have their project.
They fill out a grant application, which you can find on our website, calaverascommunityfoundation.org.
Okay.
And you fill out, it has to be a nonprofit organization, and they fill out the application for a specific project that can be done within the year. And then we go through all of the grant applications and fund.
Okay.
As you know.
Yeah. So we built relationships with the charities and the faith-based organizations and community leaders and actually some of the government, the county government. Another good example is a need that we saw was the landscaping and the grounds around the government center had really fallen into disrepair. And so we worked with the county. They found a contractor, got a quote, and we funded that work as well. So
Okay.
the enrichment or beauty of the Calaveras Government Center.
We all get to enjoy that.
Yes.
A little bit.
That's awesome.
Sure.
You mentioned 21 categories.
21 different grants. Now, those three initiatives are the categories, if you will. But I'm looking at the grant schedule here, and 5 of them were specifically for food for seniors.
Okay.
The Meals on Wheels. Let's see, Good Samaritan Church Food Pantry, the Sierra Hope Food Pantry. So supplying food, you know, the basic
Right.
elements of
Yes.
life for our seniors is one of our biggest
Yes.
projects.
Yeah. Gosh, that is huge. My husband's parents are 94, and we were just with them on, for Thanksgiving, and he's the baby of 6. It's not like I'm married a 70-year-old person, just so you know. But you know, they were talking to us about how difficult it is for them to just get back and forth to the store now and to make their meals and to stay on top of it. They're exhausted.
Yes.
They've lived 94 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're exhausted.
They're
And so
the
it's
type
just-
of folks where the Meals on
Yeah.
Wheels program is,
Right.
you know, perfect for
Wonderful.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that they don't get enough funding on their own, like they should be getting, and so they rely on people like you.
Exactly.
It's awesome that you guys are there.
Yeah.
So what kind of people are you finding are your donors? Are they very wealthy people in our community that we don't know about, or is it a lot of?
They run the entire spectrum.
They do.
I mean,
They do.
from your average Joe that donates $25 every year to more well-off members of our community
Yeah.
that make large donations, and most of them, by the way, want to be and remain anonymous.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does the average Joe donate to you? Do they go to do it online
You
or?
can do it through PayPal.
Okay.
You can go to our website again, and there's a PayPal button, and you can do it through PayPal. And we are also signed up for the Amazon Smile program.
Oh, right.
So you can make us your recipient of the Amazon Smile program.
Okay.
So those are one of the main ones. Or you can just write us a check and send it to us,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our solicitation time of the year. We send out an annual letter right around Christmas time, and our donors have been fabulous, and
that's so great.
and more generous every year. So
So
we're fortunate.
what if I just had a huge passion? I do have a huge passion for kids. I have a grief program. So if I want to give you money and say, can you please make sure this goes to a kids program? How do I know
Okay, that's
where it goes?
exactly what we
Yes.
do. Okay, we call that a donor-advised fund, and the donor gets to direct the funds to one of the 3 categories.
Okay.
And if they have a particular passion, vocations, trade schools, nursing, whatever, they can specify that their money goes specifically to those causes.
Okay. Okay. And the vocation, is that scholarships or is that
Yes,
different?
yes.
That's scholarships.
Yes.
Do they get a little peek at who is applying for those scholarships to
Oh,
help
gosh.
choose, or do you guys choose?
Well, we have a large scholarship committee. It's made up of several
Okay.
people on the board, and they review every year dozens and dozens of scholarship applications. I think the last time I was on the committee, we had 52 applicants.
Really?
Yeah. Now last year we were able to fund 11 scholarships
Okay.
at the cost of approximately $36,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That
it's
is
a
really
lot.
neat.
Yeah.
It all goes to kids from Calaveras County. In fact, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on and focus on is that everything we do is for Calaveras County.
Yeah.
It goes right back into Calaveras County.
I love that. So, Sarah, you were telling me you're rather new on this board.
Yes.
Did you say May?
May.
Since
So
May?
I've been on it since May. So it's been a learning curve.
Yeah.
yeah.
What
And then-
did you learn about the foundation that surprised you? Something that you didn't know before you started?
I didn't quite realize how much they had given away through the years.
Yeah.
Because it's been like $2.4 million they have given away in the last 20 years. And then it's all about, this board is all about ramping up those services. I mean, it's, providing that service for giving funding to people.
Right.
So we can actually serve the community even more.
Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't
Yeah.
realize that because I'd always heard about, the Calaveras Community Foundation. They were out there somewhere.
Yeah. You know what I
know?
think I always thought about it is that it's such big, the numbers are so big
Yes.
that someone like me, like if I gave $25, it would just be lost, and it maybe not, maybe it wouldn't mean so much because there's so much that you guys do, that you give already. But knowing that my $25 would be a contribution added to that big pot and,
Absolutely.
and given out, it would matter.
It's
It could
amazing
matter.
how much each $25 donation adds up to.
Right.
You know, and we do, I think when we think of community foundations, we think of the really large donations.
Yes,
You know, or the donor advised funds or, you know, that type of thing. But sometimes it's all about the smaller donations that add up, and you can really make a difference in your community using those funds.
Absolutely. Like maybe other people knew that, but I didn't know that. I just thought there were a few wealthy people who gave to this foundation. And
You know, we gained a lot of notoriety during the Butte fire because a lot of the money that came from a million different places, including some anonymous donors and donors from overseas. Some Norway, Finland. I mean, we were getting $100 checks from all around the world. And because of the Calaveras Community Foundation's reputation for making sure that that any funds that we bring in are spent correctly and on the best, highest priority projects, most of the funding came directly to us, and then we funneled it to the community itself. So that gave us a lot of notoriety.
That is so important. I know, again, Mark's parents, they would donate regularly to these certain organizations, and I showed them online one day to see how much of the money they give goes to help the people that they want to help, and how much goes to the guy at the top. And they cut out a lot of those donations, but because it is so important to know that the money you're giving is going to the people you want to help.
We're fortunate to have some really talented people on the board. Linda Cangetter, our president, is an attorney, and so we have some folks that really know how to manage money.
Exactly.
How many people are on your board?
Was there 10? There's 10 right now.
I believe so.
But it can vary from 10 to 14.
Okay.
10 right now.
10 right now?
Yeah.
Do you need more people on your board? Do you like it? 10 seems manageable. It still seems like a lot of people.
Doesn't it?
Well, there's a lot of work to go around, though. Okay, with these scholarship and grants committees, they do a lot of work. I do the property. We have a little bit of property, so I manage that, and so it keeps us plenty busy.
Right.
But what we tried to do, and part of the reason that I was asked to be on the board, is they needed someone from Valley Springs or from the western end of the county. We find that if we have a representative from every pocket of the county, everybody's needs get met.
That is so smart.
Yeah. And it seems like also, me being a newbie, every board member has a certain skill set. And so because it is an all-volunteer board, we share the wealth as far as doing, the business of doing the foundation. So each of us has a certain skill set that adds to the whole.
Yes, that makes sense.
It works very, very well.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We're the dirty dozen of community funding.
That sounds so cool. When you put it like that.
Sure. Whatever.
What besides being the property guy and being from Valley Springs, what else brought you to that board? What made you want to be on that board? Was it just to represent that area? Or?
Well, that was it in the beginning. But once I was on the board for 6 months or so, I was so proud of being on the board and to see the huge impact. I've been, involved in several social organizations, the Knights of Columbus, a lot of good organizations that do great things. But I've never been with an organization that has more impact day to day.
Really?
Yeah, this is Calaveras Community Foundation is it.
That is great. And how long did you say you've been on the board?
I've been on for over 6 years.
6 years.
That's a long
That's
time.
a long time. Yeah. There are a lot of people that I know who like to participate in the community and do things like this, but sometimes they'll join a board and it's just like, oh my gosh, I gave it a try, I'm not going back there again.
Oh,
but I think that says a lot that you've been there for 6 years and that you still
it does.
And there are other
there.
folks, Brent Harrington and Denise Ebbets and several folks that have been on there a lot longer than I have.
That is great.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh my goodness.
And it's wonderful because you have the institutional memory, too.
Yeah.
You have people on the board who have a history of serving for years and years and years. So if a situation comes along that us newbies have never seen before, people have been on the board before, have been on the board for that long, chances are they're like, okay, this is how we handled it before. Let's, see how we can augment that and deal with it now.
That makes sense.
Which is a great resource.
That makes sense. So if somebody, through the program I have at Hospice, the Grief Buster program, I've gone on websites before where I hear that they have grant money to give, and I'll go to their site, and it's sort of hard to find exactly what which area my program would fall into.
Okay.
And I don't want to apply and spend the time and then find out that it really should have been over on this one. If somebody has a need for the money but isn't quite sure how to do it, can you guys give them a hand on how to go through those steps?
Through the grant cycle process?
Yeah, like where to even apply.
There's when you go to the website, there is a section on grants, and you just click on that, grants available, and it will take you to the page where you will see the grant application. But there's not just the grant application. There's a document there called Helpful Hints.
Okay.
And if you read through that, that's extremely helpful as to what you need to do to get the process done.
Okay.
But you can always email us as well if you have any questions. And that email is info@calaverascommunityfoundation.org. And no question is too lowly, let's put it that way, to ask, because sometimes it's confusing.
Yeah.
We look at the grants and we go, well, it seems self-explanatory, right? But we've seen them before.
Yeah.
So someone who's new to the process, who doesn't maybe understand how it works, it's always worth just emailing and asking the question.
I get intimidated when I need to apply for a grant, because I don't do it very often. I might do choose one or two that I want to go for, and I'm so worried about making a mistake and blowing it. I sat in once, gosh, I think it was a CalWorks. I can't remember exactly what it was for, but to go through grants and help weed things out, and it got to where they were looking at things like if they didn't put this certain phrase in the grant, it was kicked out. Or
we're not quite at that level. I've done some grant writing myself. And those grants were quite extensive. And
yours are not like that?
No.
Okay.
No. Over the past 6 years, I've seen grants come in from every type of organization you can think of. And some of them very sophisticated professional grant writers, but most of them moms and pops. People in the Lions Club or some other organization that needs funding.
That is so good to know, because I think, like I said, a lot of people would just be intimidated to even start. Gosh, there's probably so many people who know what they're doing applying for this grant. I wouldn't even have a chance, but people just give it a shot then,
We would just encourage people to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you fit what, when you read our basic grant criteria and you think you're going to fit and you have a really great project and it's going to serve the people of Calaveras County, fill out the grant application.
Okay.
We would love to see it.
And the percentages are, you'll get the funds. I mean, we haven't been able to fund every single project, and we haven't been able to fund completely every single project, but boy, we sure hit the meat of it. We get the majority.
Once somebody gets a grant from you, is there a lot of the follow-up? Do they have to check in with you every so often and let you know how it's going or what they're doing?
Yes and no. First of all, they do need to check in with us, but not on a regular basis. Okay, we're looking for them to complete the grant funding, use the funding within a 12-month period. Okay, we've had a couple of them that didn't quite make that deadline, and we just extend the deadline a little bit. Okay, if it's a worthwhile project and we can tell that they're earnestly trying to get it done, we'll be patient.
Yeah. I love that you guys aren't just so hard,
Well,
never again, you're done.
Well, I think our purpose is to help the community.
Yeah.
Right? And if you see someone making a very good faith effort to complete their project, and for some reason they just aren't able to, it makes sense, right, to extend the deadline, because our purpose is to help the community.
You guys are so great. You do put on such a friendly, approachable face to the whole thing. Like I really feel like anybody would get the idea that, I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a try.
Well, those high school seniors certainly find a way. They,
Yeah.
the counselors encourage them to apply for the scholarships, and like I said, we did 11 of them last year.
That's so great.
Yeah.
What were some of the other things you mentioned before we started? There were some things you said that I didn't know you all did. There's the the scholarships,
The aging in place for seniors, and then community enrichment.
Okay. Okay.
And that's kind of a broad category, but we like that. That allows us to, if we see a really good idea and it impacts the maximum number of people in the county, and it doesn't exactly fit our criteria, we'll bend the rules a little bit.
What if you guys are driving around and you see something that needs to be done? Can you take from the fund, or can you go to the people who are in this area and say, "Why don't you apply?"
That's what happened with the government center.
Okay.
We noticed the government center as much as anybody, and we went to the county and said, "Hey, you need some help here."
Yeah.
And then they worked with us, as I said, to get a quote to have the work done, and then they got the grant funding from us. And I believe that was an out-of-cycle fund.
Yes.
Out of cycle.
Which we normally fund them in January 1st to the 30th. That's the application
grant
window.
Cycle.
Okay.
The grant window.
The competitive grant cycle.
But then if we see a need during the year and we have the funds, we'll fund an out-of-cycle grant too.
Okay. So all of us who would like to apply for something need to do it by the end of January.
Yes.
Okay.
We start taking applications through email, only through email, no snail mail, no telephone, no fax, just email. We start on January 1st.
Okay.
And then at the end of January, that closes, I think it's January 30th. I'm going to look at my notes just to make sure.
It is.
Because I wrote, See, he's been on the board longer than I have.
Well, it's the 1 month.
January 31st, so it's the whole month. So turn your application in. People can turn their applications in that whole month. And the grant applications are on the website now. So you have all through December to work on it as well. So it's a fair amount of time, to get it put together and go from there.
Cool. It is so cool. Yeah. So do you guys see some sort of need that hasn't, the people haven't come forward yet and asked you for money? I know that you're saying children and seniors are high up on your list. So food is important, but maybe like transportation or the home improvements that you mentioned. Do you guys work like with Habitat for Humanity or?
They've applied for grants before.
They have, okay.
Yes. Yes.
And the home improvements that I mentioned, the handlebars in the shower and ramps, that was done through a Catholic Charities organization.
Okay.
They did the work, we provided the funds.
Okay, okay, oh neat.
Yeah.
So what other kind of people are you looking for to be on your board at some point? Because I bet you're going to have a lot of people
interested.
I want to be on a board with you too. I mean, so.
Well, thank you. We would like to be on a board with you too, Tammy. But looking for hardworking people, somebody that's going to be dedicated. I mean, we have meetings once a month, but they're lengthy meetings, and we're hammering out exactly what we're talking about every month. Okay. There's and great spirited debate. We have board members with definitely different opinions. Strong opinions, but at the end of the day, everybody's trying to do the maximum they can for the people in the county, those that need it the most.
Is there a part of the county that's not being represented at this time on your board? Someone that you might need?
Well, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think it's pretty well dispersed.
We have it fairly well balanced now. Yes. It hasn't always been, but we've been, Linda and Brent have been working on it really hard, and I think we're pretty well diversified now in terms of geographic locations.
Okay. And where and when do you guys meet?
We meet second Tuesday of every month at the hospital in San Andreas. Yeah, they have classrooms downstairs.
Okay. You meet once. This is a huge commitment, it sounds to me, though, to be on this board. It sounds like an awesome, wonderful thing to do, but it also sounds like a pretty big commitment.
It can be, depending on what each of us are doing for the board, for the foundation at any given time. And then it's, the once a month meetings.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
But then we'll have events in the county that drive a lot of activity. The Butte Fire was the best example I can even think.
Yeah.
But other events in the community that drive need.
Yeah. So about the Butte Fire, you had mentioned that you guys had funding to pay for things like street signs, and it's so
you don't
funny.
think about
you don't
that.
think that somehow, like I always say, like they just magically appeared. You don't think of all the work that went behind the scenes to get those there, and who was even involved in it.
Well,
like it's just happened.
We like to think that when things magically appear, it's because we
Right,
funded them.
right. Yeah.
The Arnold Rim Trail recently,
Yes.
we donated some money to them for maps and trail signs and stuff like that. And, you know, that affects a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. You guys don't go out there and I mean, you sort of need to tell people the work that you're doing and all the things that you're doing behind the scenes, but at the same time, you guys aren't out there just like, hey, that was because of us. Look at us. It's just
No, it's pretty low profile group.
Yes, it is. It is definitely.
I like that. Yeah, I like that about you guys.
Yep.
Is there anything about the board or about what you're doing or what you need that you want to tell everybody about? We have like 3 minutes left, so I want to make sure that.
Well, what I wanted to mention is that although we're the Calaveras Community Board, right? All of us live in Calaveras, so we have a great understanding about the communities in Calaveras.
Right.
And each of the communities can be very different in their needs. So I think that's super important that we serve the community as a whole. Our funds go right back into Calaveras County, but we all also understand how the community actually functions and how the needs are different between the communities, like from Valley Springs to Arnold to McCullum Hill to Angels Camp, Copperopolis. The needs are a little different.
Yeah,
You know.
they would be. I love that you guys get someone from the different areas to participate on your board, so you can hear about these things.
That's right.
Exactly.
If you live in that community, you'll be more in tuned than if you don't.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you just don't know. You think you know, you don't know.
But you don't.
I guess the one final thing that I would add is that it is the generosity of our donors that make all of this possible. Okay, and as we are growing as an organization, we're bringing in more donations, but we need more every year if we're going to continue to accelerate and continue to meet the needs of the community the way we have.
Right, absolutely. So you guys don't do any events to raise funds or things like that. You just it's just all throughout the year people can find ways to donate.
Right, and there are some efforts, public relations efforts to stay in touch with our more wealthy donors. Okay, so there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we don't frankly even talk about, but it's work.
Yeah. Well, it's so important. You guys do such great work around the whole entire county. I mean, like I said, I don't know what agencies like ours would do without that. Sometimes that $5,000 makes the difference between being able to help these families or not.
Yes, you either have Meals on Wheels or you don't.
Yeah, or you don't.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, because sometimes you can't just do it part way. You either have to go for it or it's not going to happen. And so thank goodness you guys are there to do this work. Thank you.
Pleasure, yes.
Oh my gosh, can you believe it's almost time? Tell everybody again how to find you if they want to reach you.
Go to our website at calaverascommunityfoundation.org, or you can email at info@calaverascommunity.org.
Okay.
Sorry, communityfoundation.org.
Okay.
Also, we're getting more active on Facebook. That's my baby.
Awesome. Yeah, you're good at that.
So you can like us on Calaveras Community Foundation's Facebook page.
Great.
And you can message us there, find out information there as well.
Perfect. And once you friend them on Facebook, make sure you share their posts,
Yes,
comment on their
absolutely.
posts and that sort of thing to help them grow. Thank you guys so much for being here and thank you for everything you're doing.
You bet, Tammy.
Thank you.
And you guys, thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time on Tammy's Window on Calaveras.